Family.
Ah.
All right. So okay, we in business. Family, so glad to be back with you. I hope you have been having a fantastic week. Today is my Friday, so I am excited about a few things going on. So, about this Friday, this full Friday for me, and family. So glad to be a whirlwind of new energy has entered my life that has been very interesting and actually challenging me in a lot of different ways. It's actually, in some ways, testing my integrity in the sense that it's making me be a man of my words. I say things like, trust is to be given, not earned. So now I got to get out here and live that, as we talked about in the Quantum Shift on our Tuesday show. It's all about embody the energy so we don't have to send mixed signals. So, dude, it was your first time here, the Soul Swami Live, where we discuss all things healing. We do that in several different forms, whether it be conversations, whether it be prompt questions, we watch videos, and we do live energy readings on our show. Today is our spinoff from our Tuesday night show, this Thursday night book club. It is set up in an effort to allow us to reconnect with the child in us by letting somebody read to us, right? So if you got questions, comments, make sure you put them in the chat. It'll be a beautiful experience. Holler at me if I don't see them because I get to read and then blah, 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 blah. So forth, so forth. You can catch us every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. If you would like to see some of the old shows, every episode I've ever done has been on YouTube, and you get to see the growth that the show has gone through. We've been doing it about 2 years now. Surprisingly, we're getting close to 2 years. Woo, woo, woo. We might need to have a celebration for our 2 year anniversary or something like that. But anyway, at the beginning of every show, we generally do some energy work around some point, some energy point or chakra, whatever you feel more comfortable talking, calling it. We do some sound bowl. We do some breath work and visualization. So this week, we are continuing with our root, our foundational chakra. Your root is good for your survival skills, your stability, your sense of stability, your sense of safety, your sense of security, and your grounding. This is like I'm having a surreal moment because I said on Tuesday night I did some root work, and that root work helped me to be able to identify my familial generational curse, which winds up being guilt and envy. But also, it allowed me to clear a little bit out my foundation, which I was going to need later this week, but I had no idea. If you are into essential oils, things that are good for your root are stuff like frankincense, myrrh, patchouli, black pepper. Like I said too, I shake that on everything. Only thing I probably use more than pepper is garlic, 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 garlic. I'm not worried about vampires getting me, cause when you cook with garlic, better make sure you put it in everybody's plate. So garlic is in everybody's plate. For sure. If you are into crystals and stones, you want to think red stones or universal stones, like red jasper, garnet is good, bloodstone is good, black obsidian is good, hematite is good. You want to think dark stones, things of that nature. The element for your root is earth. So if you ever want to get your root chakra in alignment, do some earthing. Just take your shoes off, walk around in the grass barefoot. My favorite thing is I'm a plant daddy, so I get my hands in the dirt. I do need to do more with my feet, but I'm one of those. Literally, I call myself Princess in the P when it comes to my feet. It can be anything under layers of stuff, and I'm like, what is that rubbing up against my foot? My foot is super sensitive. The color, if you're in the color therapy for your root is red, hence the red tint to that. So get you some multicolored bulbs, get you some bulbs that change light. I mean some bulbs that change colors. You'll have every color you need. The only one that's gonna be difficult to find is indigo. So you may have to get a separate light. That's a black light. I don't have black lights anymore. I hadn't had a black light since college when we used to have black light parties. So at this moment, we are going to do a little sound bowl. So all you gotta do is just relax yourself and listen to the sound bowl. I'm gonna play my ukulele for y'all today too, cause I don't know. I just feel like a ukulele. Oh, you know what? That's a black light. I don't have black lights. I want my rain stick too, so we about to rain stick it too, family. Give me 1 second. So at this moment, we are going to do a little sound bowl. So all you gotta do is just relax yourself. Listen to the sound bowl. I'm gonna play my ukulele for y'all today too, cause I don't know. I just feel like a ukulele. Oh, you know what? I want my rain stick too, so we about to rain stick it too. Give me 1 second. So at this moment, we are going to do a little sound bowl. So all you gotta do is just relax. Listen to the sound bowl. I'm gonna play my ukulele for y'all. I probably should have already had that, but you know how I go. All right, we doing numbers. If you in the chat, man, say something. Comment so I can give you a shout out. Like, you know, I be trying to monitor everything, and I be having people watching. They don't say nothing. Say something so I can show you some love, soul family. Let me see. Make sure I probably should have already had that, but you know how I go. Like I actually see numbers. If you in the chat, man, you do say something. Comment so I can give you a shout out. Like, you know, I be trying to monitor everything. So just relax. Listen to the sound bowl for a little bit. Show you some love, soul family. Make sure I probably should already have that, but like I actually see numbers. If you do say something, comment so I can give you a shout out. Like, you know, I be trying to monitor everything. So just relax. Listen to the sound bowl for a little bit. So for our breathing exercise, we are going to do 4-4-4. We're going to do some box breath. That is 4 in, hold 4, 4 out. Man. You just got to relax and listen to my count. I will keep track. Focusing on your breathing, focusing on taking positive, stabilizing energy in and breathing out all that worry and all those other things. So on the count of 3, we'll start. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Last time, family. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. And for our visualization, it's going to be simple. All you have to do is just imagine yourself in some earth environment that allows you to connect and exchange energy. That can be a forest where you can admire the beauty of the trees. That can be an ocean where you can enjoy the serenity of the aquatic life. That can be a field where you imagine yourself frolicking and playing, but imagine yourself in a space that allows you to be able to interact with the earth. Imagine yourself barefooted or actually really digging up the dirt. Get in that well, exchange the energy, get rid of those negative ions. And as you are imagining and exercising your creative being, I want you to repeat these affirmations after me. I am safe and secure. Exchange the energy, get rid of those negative ions. I am grounded and centered. Exercising your creative being. I am self-sufficient. Repeat these affirmations. I am financially secure. I am safe and secure. I love being in my body. I am grounded. I am safe and secure. I am grounded and centered. I am self-sufficient. I am self-sufficient. I am financially secure. And I love being in my body. I don't know where we are in the book. Keep it 100. I think he somewhere just decided that he gonna divorce his wife, and you know I got issues with that. He's making a very selfish decision, and at this point in his life, he doesn't even realize how selfish he is. He, as a matter of fact, he is less than selfish. He's something different than selfish. He is making decisions from a space of envy. He's very envious. And it's funny because, like I said, for my own family, I had to recognize what envy really is. And many times we confuse that with jealousy, but he ain't really jealous. Jealous is kind of like thinking somebody don't deserve that, right? So he don't have a problem with thinking somebody doesn't deserve it. Where his problem reside is he's envious of people who have something that he don't. So if he see a girl who ain't like his wife, he envious that she ain't like his wife, and all types of things. So he's making a bunch of decisions from envy with thinking somebody doesn't deserve it. Do-do-do. Yeah, they get into the breaking up part. One day, during an argument, I told Debbie that I was so displeased with her lack of stimulation in our relationship that if I didn't see some improvement so soon, I planned to file for divorce. I also told her that I planned to go to Miami to visit my homeboy, Cooter, without her. Against her wishes, I left for Miami, and she packed up the kids and met her relatives in Wilmington. When I returned a few days later, Debbie met me at the door and handed me a thick wad of papers. She had filed for divorce, alleging mental cruelty and all that other standard bullshit they include with papers. And he definitely has been mental cruel. He just told her, I'm about to divorce you, and I'm going on a trip without you. It's like, come on, like, dog. See, his self-awareness is still that time he spent in jail definitely has him emotionally frozen in time. His self-awareness is still that of the kid that went to jail. And he definitely has been mental cruel. He just told her, I'm about to divorce you. The action started a long and painful process that led us to court early in 1988. As my marriage broke down, it was different at the paper. Under COVID, I found myself wanting to explore new opportunities open up. I made it known to my bosses that I was interested in becoming an editor. That would be another plus on my resume and would broaden my options down the road if I wanted to dash to another paper. Besides, I wanted to see if I could do it. I wanted to enter the world of white management and see if it was as esoteric as they tried to make it seem. It is not. It is a bunch of bull and a bunch of unqualified people. So once you get into white management, it is nepotism city. So I applied to go to a popular fellowship program called the Multicultural Management Program, which was run by a black journalist, Ben Johnson. Held at the Journalism School of the University of Missouri, the month-long program was designed for reporters and management types on all levels to sensitize some to issues relating to minorities and prepare others to deal with racism in the workplace. I left for the program in the fall of 1988, at a time when I needed a diversion from my domestic troubles. When I arrived on the campus, I met the group, which was a motley crowd of about 20 people, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, whites, and even some Native Americans. We were escorted to rooms in the wing of the graduate student dormitory. Some fellows complained about the cramped rooms, but I felt right at home. My dorm room reminded me of a prison cell. You see what I mean? That's usually he find comforts in some of the things that have him frozen in time. So we started the program with a seminar, the first of many we would have every day until we left. The group leader, a tall, slender white man with a genuine smile, led off by asking us to talk about ourselves. People were guarded. We held back those parts of ourselves reserved for only those we trust. It remained that way through the first week. Then on Friday evening, after the grueling schedule had begun to take its toll, we all limped back to the dorms. Someone suggested, hey, let's go get some beer. I had a boom box and some cassette tapes. We went to a room, milled about, talked, and listened to music. One by one, the others drifted in. When we started dancing, black, white, Asian, everybody started throwing down. And before long, the affair grew into a full-blown party. College environment is like that. Like that. I remember one time, we used to have parties every weekend. Well, we always called them get-togethers, but they would turn out to be full-blown parties. And we had our homeboy from another school come visit for one of our get-togethers. He was like, man, why y'all lie to me, man? This ain't no damn get-together. Y'all having a party, man. It's drinks, it's everything going on. Everything that goes on in the party was going on at this get-together. We laughed, sang, got drunk, and took pictures as the racial barriers came down. It was as if all at once we realized that it really didn't matter what color we were. We were all human beings brought together by a common experience. Aside from the time I spent with Danny, I never experienced anything like it. I think that party and the closeness that evolved among us was a new experience for others, too. During that month, we learned about each other's cultures and shared feelings about the rest of the world. The two Native Americans talked a lot about the impact of racism on their people. They told about the despair, the high alcoholism, and suicide rates, diminishing their once thriving tribes. One of the Native Americans, a woman, broke down into tears while telling the group about their struggle. You have no idea how frustrating it is as a journalist trying to educate whites in the newsroom who are ignorant and arrogant at the same time. Boy, that's the truth. She said, and Asian American eyes also watered as he recounted the troubles trying to make it in the white work world. Listening to them, I realized how self-centered I was. See, I told you he's self-centered. Jesus Christ. I'd been as a black man. I had come to think of the word minority as being synonymous with being black. Even when campaigning for the hiring of more minorities in the newsroom, I had been concerned solely with blacks. But through those sessions, I learned that Asian Americans and other minorities were as essential as anyone to changing the media. Often during those weeks, outside speakers came in and take part in our seminars and panel discussions. In one of the seminars, managers from several of the nation's newspapers were brought in to talk about the difficulties they face with trying to hire minorities. One of the speakers, a guy from the Washington Post named Tom Lipton, led into his presentation by saying, I want to tell you two stories that I think will give you some indication of how difficult it is to achieve what we're talking about here. The first one was a story of a young man who we were interested in hiring about a year ago. By all accounts, he was very good at his job. He works for a serious newspaper, does very well, has satisfied every demand placed upon him by his editors. He was quite likable. He happened to be black. And when we were getting ready to offer the job, I can tell you, though, that because of our own experience with certain minority journalists, whom I don't need to name, my newspaper is much more careful than they ever have been in the past about checking references on people and finding out about their backgrounds. Before he went on, I braced myself. I knew he was talking about me. I felt it inside. I knew it was my past haunting me again. Lippman continued. In this case, we discovered the reference check that this young man had served time for a felony conviction. Blood rushed to my head so quickly that it made me dizzy. I sat there wondering what to do. My first impulse was to interrupt him and let everybody in the room know that he was talking about me. But I knew if I stood up and tried to speak, I'd lose control and go off on that white man. I shifted in my seat, trying to decide how to handle it. Then, when the question and answer session started, I couldn't resist. Looking at Lippman, I said, I didn't get the point in the example you used about the guy in the felony conviction. How does that reflect upon the problem you have finding minorities in the newsroom? While he babbled some response that didn't directly answer the question, I decided to keep quiet and see how my colleagues responded to him. As soon as he finished talking, hands shot up in the air. One woman said, you expect us to believe that the Washington Post cannot find quality minorities because all of them have prison records? Another person asked, what did his prison record have to do with his qualification for the job in the first place? One by one, the fellows attacked Lippman's logic, and one person even told him, such racist thinking is exactly the reason why programs such as the one we're attending are needed in the first place. The group reaction to Lippman warmed my heart. They made it clear that their concerns were not about the Post rejecting an applicant for being less than forthcoming, which it had every right to do, but that Lippman was wrong in implying that prison records are common among minority applicants. I felt good that they had come to my rescue without knowing it was me they were defending. When the sessions ended, I walked over to Lippman, who was standing near the wall, looking red-faced, and pulled him off to the side. I said, you know that guy that you mentioned with the prison record? He looked at me curiously. Yes, that was me. His eyes grew as big as two 50-cent pieces. That was you? He apologized so loudly and dramatically that it caused a scene. I'm sorry, G. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I told him that there was no need to apologize and that I wanted him to know that the example he cited for being unable to find minorities was inappropriate. He apologized some more as we parted. Later that day, I went to dinner with a group of program fellows and told them that I was the job applicant with the prison record that I had interviewed for the post. They were surprised. Then they got mad all over again and launched into a debate about whether the group should complain to the post. That is hilarious to me. Some wanted to write to the post and complain about Lippman. Others argued that it wouldn't do any good. I told them to let it drop. I didn't want to appear to be crying over spilled milk, but I could tell they all shared my hurt and anger over what had happened. Experiences such as that drew us close together. That and the time we spent together. We ate breakfast together, spent entire days in seminars together, we went to dinner together, and often rapped or hung out until bedtime. After a while, we were like one big rainbow family. When the program ended, I knew I had taken part in a rare and special human experience that I would cherish for the rest of my life. I sensed that the others felt the same. We had a farewell program on the final day. Each of us got up and went to the front of the room and talked about how deeply the program had affected us. The talk I remembered most was given by a white guy from San Antonio. I remember it not so much for what he said as for what he did. Despite strong efforts to hold back, he broke down in tears. I knew why he was crying. Everyone in the room knew. We had learned that racial differences that we had considered so profound were not so broad after all, and we felt better equipped to go out and preach the gospel of multiculturalism. The Missouri experience strengthened our wavering hope, and that realization brought us tears of joy. We had learned that racial differences, multiculturalism, that's why. It's a concept. Bill Kovac left the Atlanta Journal-Constitution sometime in 1988. He got into a disagreement with one of the bigwigs and quit. You would have thought they had tried to keep him. Under him, the paper won a number of Pulitzer Prizes after years of going without winning any. But they readily accepted his resignation. A lot of other people left the paper after that. Kovac's leaving was a clear indication to them that the management of the Journal-Constitution had decided that the strain of being a world-class newspaper was much too much for them. The management was much more comfortable with mediocrity. While a lot of people in the newsroom mourned the loss of Kovac, the good old boys who had survived his purges rejoiced. To them, Kovac's departure was a victory of our grand proportions. A Yankee had been run out of town. The South had finally won. The management was much more comfortable with mediocrity. I'm laughing because they see that like that. Subconsciously on lower levels of their consciousness, they're like, yep, we did it. Before he left, I had an encounter with Bill Kovac I'd always remember. I walked back to the foyer leading to his office and told his secretary I needed to see him. She told me have a seat. Sitting there, I thought about what I was about to do. I've been thinking about it ever since the experience with Tom Lippman at the Multicultural Management Program. I also thought about what Milton Coleman had told me after my interview at the Post. I'd concluded that Milton was right. I had built a track record, and it should be strong enough to help me overcome my past. Being upfront about my prison record was the only way I could guard against it haunting me. I decided to tell Kovac. After several minutes, the secretary said, "Go right in." A white-haired man in his 50s, Kovac was a square-jawed cat who had dark shadows circling his eyes. It gave him a raccoonish look. Sitting at his desk, working, he looked up and stopped what he was doing. "What can I do for you, Nathan?" "There's something I need to talk to you about." Okay, he said erect. What is it? I got right to the point. I have served time in prison. Oh? What for? His tone and expression didn't change. Armed robbery? I waited for a visible reaction. There was none. Then he gave me a strange look as if he was wondering why I had bothered wasting his time with such trivia. After a few minutes, he said, "Is that all?" I thought, "Is that all? Is that all?" It was enough to make some white folks run screaming from the room with their arms flailing. I cleared my throat and answered, "Yes." "Is anybody giving you shit about it?" "No. If anybody gives you shit about it, let me know." That was that. I sat there a minute, waiting to see if he had anything to say. He said nothing. I looked into his eyes and he looked into mine. He looked at me and I looked at him. Then I rose and walked out of his office, stunned, wondering if that scene had really occurred. I know that's right. He said, "If anybody giving you shit, then you tell me. I don't care." Chapter 40, The Brothers. Greg, our longtime family friend, had visited me in Atlanta from time to time. When we were young, Greg and my brother Dwight hung tough together. But as we got older, Greg and I grew pretty close. He would come to Atlanta on a Friday morning, party 2 or 3 days, then head back to Portsmouth and return to his daily grind. I thought it was strange when he showed up suddenly one fall afternoon and said he was there to stay. Like almost everybody else at home, Greg had worked at the shipyard for several years. Then he quit his gig to sell insurance full time. He was trying to build his clientele when he decided to relocate. When I asked him why he came to Atlanta, Greg said, "Man, I just need to clear my head and get a change of scenery. Portsmouth was dragging me down." I suspected he was running from something, but that was okay. We were all running, trying to overcome the feeling of rootlessness in a system and make way for ourselves. Greg stayed with us for a while, then found a job in an apartment not too far from where we lived. He seemed to be getting on his feet, then something happened. He changed. He started borrowing money. Increasingly, when I saw him, he had a different look. Greg had always had a sense of pride about the way he dressed and carried himself, but whenever he came around, he looked ashen and desperate. One day, Greg would come by and his hair would be uncombed. The next day, he'd be wearing the same threads he had on the day before. I knew he was dabbling in cocaine, but I had no idea what else he was doing or how much. Then one day, Trip and my homies told me Greg is fucked up on that shit. He hitting that pipe almost every day. "No, man, not Greg." My homie was insistent. "Man, don't underestimate the power of that stuff they got out there now. It's more powerful than the stuff that was on the street when we was out there. They got some shit out there now called crack. They say that shit will knock your socks off in a minute, put a gorilla on your back." Despite what I seen about drug houses I went to, I refused to believe that the drug scene was any worse than it had ever been. Drugs are like fashion. One year, one drug is in style, then the next year, they come out with something new. I argued to my homie. When we were all doing acid, people said that was the worst thing in the world. Now they saying the new stuff is worse than anything that came down the pipe. This stuff will blow over, just like everything else. People will try it, and when the novelty wears off, they'll move on to something else. Shit. When it got really bad for Greg, he stopped coming around my place. I think he was embarrassed for me, for Debbie and the kids to see him falling apart. But I kept up with what's going on with him by checking with the homies from time to time. I ran into Chip one day who said, "Yo, man, the repo man got Greg called yesterday, and I heard he lost his job." The next thing I knew, Greg had gone back to Portsmouth. His mother sent him money to catch a Greyhound bus back home. When I talked with my mother for a short time after that, she told me Greg had checked into a drug rehab center called the Serenity. I hated seeing Greg go through that hell. Outside of my family, I've known him longer than anyone else in my life. We could talk about anything, and he loved to play chess as much as I did. When I was in prison, Greg had visited me more times than my own brothers. I had to go home and lend him some moral support. When I got to Serenity Lodge in Portsmouth, I was ushered into a room that looked like a lawyer's conference room. Greg came through the door. Unlike the last time I seen him, he looked scrubbed and rested. We greeted each other, then sat down and rapped. I said, "Wow, man, I must be slipping. I ain't even know you were that bad off until they took your ride. You should have come and told me you were having problems." Greg said, "I couldn't tell you I was having problems because I hadn't admitted it to myself, man. You know, I always been able to handle drugs. I was doing that shit for a long time and handling things. I was doing good. Then the stuff started getting the best of me and I couldn't figure out how to get away from it, man. It got so bad one time, Nate, that I got in front of a mirror and stuck a gun to my head and said to myself, man, with all these problems, all you gotta do is pull this trigger. You wouldn't have to worry about getting high no more. I wanted out so bad, but I didn't know how to get out. I even tried to turn to Islam for help. I went and bought the Quran and read it every day. Some days I'd be at the house with the Quran in one hand and the pipe in the other. Sometimes I would think I had it beat. I was upstairs praying to God to take this shit from me. I told him I didn't ever want to do drugs no more, and I promised God I wouldn't. Then the dope man came to the door and I flew downstairs. He gave me enough snow to use, then gave me some I could sell so I can get myself straight. I packed it up to sell, then ended up putting it in the pipe and smoking all that up. After that, I had to pay the dope man every week until when I got paid. Man, I sold everything I had but this gold necklace around my neck. My mom's gave me this necklace as a gift. When I thought about selling it to get some money, I knew I was bad off. I refused to sell it though. Then I asked, "So man, how you feeling? You think this rehab gonna work for you?" "Yeah, man, I love it. I think I'm gonna make it. I don't never want to do drugs no more." We talked some more, then Greg said, "Hey man, there's some other people in here from Cavalier Manor getting treatment. When I told them you were coming, they said they wanted to see you. They'll be coming through here in a few minutes." A few minutes later, Charlie Gregg, my old stick-up partner, came through the door. "Yo, Nate, what up? What it is, baby?" I had lost track completely of Charlie Gregg after we got out of prison. I heard through nut brain every now and then that he was what he was doing, but I had no idea that he too was strung out. Then a few minutes later, a woman I grew up with came through the door and she hugged me. Before I left, several other people I hadn't seen in years came into the conference room to say hello. It was just like a reunion in Cavalier Manor. When I left there that evening, I had to bear witness that Chip, my homie in Atlanta, was right. The drug game had progressed to another level, for sure. He was seeing all his friends in there. That shit is not what y'all was doing in the street. But at least they was trying to get help. Going home to Portsmouth always helped me keep abreast of the happenings in the street. Every time I went home, I see something or run into somebody who gave me something heavy to think about. I could always find out who were the current knockout artists and get a line on the latest pseudo big-time drug dealers in Cavalier Manor. All I had to do was cruise up to the 7-Eleven or go any place where cats hang out and I'd get the scoop. I'd usually ask somebody, "Who's the man now?" And they say, "Low is the man," or "Poochie is the man," or "JoJo is the man." That meant that the person they named controlled most of the drugs coming into that area. I'd usually see the man cruising through the hood in a coupe de ville or slick sports car, profiling and stopping at all the drop-off points. None of them lasted. No matter how sharp any of them were, they eventually got busted, robbed, or shot. They usually lasted just enough to flash the cars, the clothes, and the fat wads of cash that convinced the up-and-coming young bloods on the block that the drug game was worth a try. Going home also helped me keep up with how the fellas around my way were doing. During one trip home, I saw Baba. a guy I'd stayed with years before when I'd run away from home. I was washing my car in front of my mother's house when I looked up the street and saw this tall, broad-shouldered dude coming toward me with a little boy in tow. When he got closer, I realized it was Baba. I hadn't seen or heard from him in years. The last time I saw him, he was selling blood to the blood bank in Norfolk to get drug money. When he reached my mother's house, we rubbed, we hugged, slapped five, then stood back and looked at each other over. Whenever I ran into dudes I knew from the old days on the block, I went out of my way to show them I hadn't changed. Of course I had changed, a lot. But I talked more slang than usual to get them to know that I hadn't gotten grand on them or started acting white. I said, Baba, where you been, man? What's shaking with the babe? The smile left Baba's face. Man, I took a fall. I've been locked up the last 5 years. I just got on parole a few days ago. I was walking through the hood and thought I'd come by here to ask your moms where you were. Wow, what a coincidence. I'm living in Atlanta, man, but I'm in town for the weekend. Yeah? Yeah, what you do time for? It was a drug tip. Got busted on the humble. Jub gave me 20 years. Made parole the first time up. It was a bad fall, man. I took the rap for 2 other dudes. It shouldn't have went down like that, but it did. You know how that is. Yeah, man, I know how it is. Where they send you? They sent me to Camp 22. It wasn't that bad. We did lightweight road work. Where did you do your bid? I did my first 2 years at Southampton. I did my last stretch at St. Bride's. Everybody was at Southampton. Bonaparte, Johan, Feetball, the whole crew. Who was at Camp 22 with you? Man, they had a lot of young boys from the manor that you wouldn't even know. Younger brothers of dudes we grew up with. They playing the crazy nigga roles like we used to do. Every now and then some old head would come through from the Richmond pen. I could see Baba was feeling the strangeness of having just got out. The free world and the people looked peculiar to him. I remember how weird and out of sync it felt when I first got out. It took me 2 years before I felt fully readjusted. I knew the adjustment would be hard for him at this age. It made me feel grateful that I had done my time when I was younger and gotten it over. Baba spoke almost as if he never knew what I was thinking. This adjustment is going to be hard for me. I'm too old to be going through this shit, man. I got this kid. He's 5 years old. His mom was pregnant when I got popped. I hadn't even seen him before I got out. Now I got to figure out how to raise him. The little boy fiddled around impatiently, occasionally tugging at Baba's leg. We talked some more and reminisced about the time I ran away from home and went to stay to Baba and his grandma in Norfolk. Then Baba said he had to leave to take his son back to his mother's house. We exchanged phone numbers and promised to keep in touch. Seeing Baba and some of the others reminded me how much life was taking a toll on brothers everywhere. There weren't many in my bunch who you could point to and said he's doing fine. After I finished washing my car, I climbed in and cruised up and down the street in Cavalier Manor just to do a mental tabulation of the casualties. I looked at the houses, thinking about the people I knew, and reviewed their stories. It seemed I could associate every other house I passed with some tragedy. There was Steve and his brother, who both committed suicide, and Charlene, whose husband murdered her. Charlene had taught me how to dance, and there was Jack, who blew his old man away with a shotgun blast. Ronald Bailey and Gibbs had gotten killed. The list of those dead was far too long for guys our age. Worse still was the list of those brothers who were drug zombies. They were breathing, but they were more dead than alive. Teeth missing from their mouth, skin pale and ashen, AIDS vacant, and the hearts cold as ice in winter. It was depressing and reminded me why I couldn't bear to go home too often or stay too long. It seemed that everywhere I looked, brothers were down and out. Every city I went to, I see hordes of grown black men in their 20s, 30s, even in their 40s hanging out, hustling for chump change and wasting away. They've been wearing the latest sneakers and have their shirt tails out and hats on backwards like they were still teenagers, frozen in adolescence. He recognized it so well, because he is that too. Every city I went to, I see hordes of grown black Haki Matubati, the black writer, lamented in one of his record albums about how so many brothers seem to be in a standstill while the rest of the world passes them by. He said, while the white boys are walking on the moon, brothers are running down to the moon lounge on hot pants night. I kept saying to myself and other people when we talked about all the lost potential in black men, brothers gonna work it out. Brothers gonna work together. But there was little visible evidence to support that claim, boy. We doing it now, but they definitely got us through this generation, boy. Sometimes I got mad at the brothers, especially those hanging idly on street corners, thinking they were bad. At the same time, I understood why they were having such a hard time getting it together. I knew why so many young brothers and black people in general were losing their minds. They look up and see that they're catching hell from the cradle to the grave, and that whole fucking country is pointing fingers at them and saying it's black people's own fault that they're catching hell. They're beating the pavement, trying to find work, and nobody will hire them, and white folks cite them as examples of people who are trifling and don't want to work. And those black who have jobs are catching hell, trying to move up the ladder like everybody else, and the same white folks who hold them back accuse them of being lazy and unambitious. Times for brothers will get. Oh no! What? Okay. Times for brothers were getting tougher when it seemed things couldn't get any worse. When I thought of all the brothers that have to go through in this country, I'm reminded of something I once heard someone say. If it ain't in here, we sure as hell can see it from here. You heard? Every time I watch brothers playing pro basketball on TV, it pisses me off. I look on the floor and see that most of the players were black. Then I look in the stands and see that most of the people there were white. I see those white folks cheering for brothers like they love them to death, even though they despise them in any other arena they try to go into. The basketball court was one place brothers seemed self-assured. They did things that required amazing coordination of timing and thought. They moved with the speed and grace of gazelles, and they welcomed pressure and made last-minute clutch plays that were out of sight. I concluded that brothers shone so well shooting hoops because the basketball court was the one place white Americans let them know they believed in them. You heard? Funny. Often, when I went home, word spread on the streets around my way that I was there. Whenever the fellas saw a car with Georgia plates parked in front of my mother's house, they stopped by to see if I was in town. One day, while I was standing in my parents' driveway, a sleek luxury model green Mercedes-Benz pulled up. A tall, heavyset guy climbed out and slowly walked towards me. He walked with a pronounced limp and leaned heavy on a cane. It was Bimbo. I heard the news over the wire about the recent accident that changed Bimbo's life. Depending on who you talk to, it was a tragic mishap or a godsend. Bimbo was working for the railroad company in Newport News when he slipped and fell on the tracks. Before he could pull his leg away, a boxcar moved and severed his foot. That railroad company settled in the deal and gave Bimbo millions of dollars to be paid in installments for the rest of his life. Bimbo, once the least likely among us to succeed, was now a millionaire. After exchanging greetings, we climbed into his ride to go and get something to eat. As we drove through Cavalier Manor, past the baseball field, some of the fellas hanging out there spotted Bimbo's car and began racing full trot towards us, arms flailing. Bimbo, Bimbo, Bimbo! Bimbo glanced at them and snickered and kept driving like he didn't see them. That's Marvin and them. Now they know I got all this money, they always trying to catch up with me to get along. We went to dinner and talked. I learned more about what life had been like for him since our hanging days. Like me, Bimbo had been through a lot. He'd been married a few times and was trying to find something meaningful to do with his life since his accident. He'd been miserable and lonely. He said he had been hounded by guys from the neighborhood ever since they learned of his new fortunes. The pressure got so intense that I moved to Williamsburg and got a big-ass fence to keep people out. That still didn't keep them niggas away. Kenny Banks paid Frog Dickie to show up and show him where I live. That's crazy. He came over and asked me for money to help finance a business deal. We talked about everything, who had recently gotten killed, who been sent to the penitentiary, who had gotten married or divorced, who was hitting the pipe or the bottle, and who was just plain struggling. We came up with a whole list of guys who had completely lost their minds. Pookie, Skip, Melvin, Ronald, Derek. Bimbo say Derek got jumped by some downtown boys. They beat him with pipes. He ain't been right in the head since. Whiskey bottles out of it too. My mom's told me Whiskey came to the house one night asking for help. He said he was seeing snakes and that they were crawling all over him. Whiskey is now a vegetable man. His sister got legal custody of him. Bimbo added, "It's wild how so many guys are coming apart." I told him that I can remember when I felt like I was coming apart, especially during that time before I got sent to prison. I asked Bimbo, "Remember when I went berserk and cracked that cane over your head?" Yeah, remember he grinned and said, "Yeah, I definitely thought you had gone crazy. It was nothing personal, man. I was just mad at the world and you was somebody I can focus my anger on. It's easy to lose your mind when you lost like that." Bimbo said, "Hey, man, when's the last time you saw Shell Shock? You and Shell used to be seriously tight." I told Bimbo I'd only seen him once on Cavalier Boulevard. After we caught up with each other's lives, there wasn't much to say. We were like strangers. It was hard to believe that we were once best friends. In spite of all the years we hung together, stole together, ran trains together, and fought together, our thing just fizzled out after I went to prison. Bimbo said, "I think Shell Shock has become bitter. He always had big Superfly dreams, bigger dreams than anybody I knew. I remember we'd be sitting down at his mom's house smoking reefer, and Shell Shock would say, 'I'm gonna make some big money, buy me a limo, get me a private plane and shit.' Now Shell Shock is working at the shipyard, and reality has kicked him square in the ass. Ain't gonna be no limo or private jet. He gotta punch the clock and scramble to pay bills like everybody else. I don't think he's taking it very well." Then Bimbo got around to asking me what I knew. Everybody wanted to know. "I heard you working for the newspaper in Atlanta. What's it like going to work in a suit and tie?" At least he said it nice. "It's strange, man. I've been in the system about 8 years now, and I'm still not used to it. It's like being on the front lines of Vietnam. You never know when white folks are going to come at you, but you know they're going to come, and you got to be ready to battle." It ain't a matter if, it's just a matter of when. Being in the system, man, you gotta know how to handle stress. Remember we used to go around looking for white boys, and when we'd find one, we beat him till we got tired? Yeah, we kicked some serious ass then. Man, that used to take the stress out of me. Sometimes I want to do that now, even though I'm a grown-ass man. Sometimes I want to take one of those white boys where I work and bang his head against the wall, stomp him into the ground with all the stress leaves my body. Nothing I know of, not even Olympic sex, relieves trenching-ness completely as when we used to fuck up white boys. Bimbo says, "So you don't like the system, huh?" I like it sometimes, but often I think about getting out. There are some good people, but the system is ruthless, man. More ruthless than the streets will ever be. They may not shoot and cut each other, but the way brothers do on the street, but they're more brutal. They cut and shoot you in ways that don't draw blood, but the pain runs deeper and lasts longer. And there are even some strangest black people you've ever seen. If you put some of them behind the wall and heard them talk, you would know they were black. It's not just the way they sound, but the way they think. It's like they've been trained by white folks to think like them. They ain't no use to nobody. Bimbo looked at his dinner plate and said, I wouldn't wish white people on my worst enemy. Sometimes, man, I just wish black people would take to the streets and tear this motherfucker up like we used to talk about doing when we was coming up. Hey, man, they too busy nodding out. They too doped up and cooled out to tear anything and tear up anything. Drugs have taken the fight out of them. Then I changed the subject. So, Bimbo, how you feel about having all that money? It's okay, but it ain't everything. I'm thinking about opening up a business. What would you do if you had this money? I'd tell the white man to kiss my ass. I'd travel, read all the books I want to read, and write what I want to write. So, Bimbo, how you feel about having all that money? Pause. Alexa, turn off living room lights. I'm thinking about opening up a business. What would you do if you had this money? I'd tell the white man to kiss my ass. I'd travel. Money is freedom, man. Bimbo and I stayed at the restaurant talking until the place closed. I glanced up and the workers were cleaning the tables, looking at us like they were anxious for us to leave. Bimbo dropped me back at my mother's house and we split. Of course, we exchanged phone numbers, but I've spoken with him only once since that night. I called a second time and he'd had his number changed. I assume he did that to Duck the Brothers. He did. All right, family, we'll stop there. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I plan on having a great one. Hopefully we'll see you back here Tuesday, where we're going to continue our discussion on naming your generational curse or something around that. If you can't be here Tuesday, I hope we catch you back Thursday, where we continue reading Makes Me Wanna Holla. I appreciate you, and value the time you spend with us and the family. So have a great one, people. Peace. Continue our discussion on naming your generational curse or something around that. If you can't be here Tuesday, I hope we catch you back Thursday, where we continue reading Makes Me Wanna Holla. I appreciate you, and value the time you spend with us and the family. So have a great one, people. Peace. Continue our discussion on naming your generational curse or something around that. If you can't be here Tuesday, I hope we catch you back Thursday, where we continue reading Makes Me Wanna Holla. I appreciate you, and value the time